What a loud, noisy week it's been. You guys are all realtors. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You may or may not know the one rule I have when it comes to posting content or crafting your messages. We always, always, always first consider who we're talking to, and second, consider what should they take away from this conversation. What do we want them to understand, and how do we want to influence their next steps? We want to make that crystal clear what they should do with the information we're giving them. Because A, we are the real estate experts. We're here to guide them, not upset them. We want them to think of us as a source of calm. We want to provide clarity, not add to the confusion. And then we want them to remember us as this, as the expert, as the source of calm, not the one who shit the bed and went unhinged online. So let's dive in to this NAR settlement, the changes that may come as a result, and how you should be talking about it with your audience. Quick reminder, if you hate social media, if you never use it, if you use it every day, you all have an audience. You have a sphere of friends and family who will be asking you about this, if they haven't already, in some kind of snarky tone. I'm not going to pretend like I know exactly how this is all going to play out. And I am also not going to be opportunistic and use this as an opportunity to brown nose and suck up to all of you about how I'll be selling you. That's not what I think you guys need. I show up here every Friday with this video because I think you need help with talking points for dinner parties and happy hours this weekend so that you can have intelligent conversations that bring a new perspective. Here are some specific steps, a couple do's and don'ts, if you will, and just a few thoughts to consider as we all, for what feels like the 15th time in the last 5 years, learn how to navigate yet another new normal. You can take this next piece of today's video and use it to prepare yourself and your messaging for the potential challenges ahead, or you can just let it go in one ear, out the other. I give this disclaimer because there has been a lot of fighting this week, and I want to make clear, none of what I'm about to say to you are fighting words. Let's start with the do's and don'ts. Do connect with a realtor in Seattle. The Northwest MLS in Seattle implemented these changes 4 years ago. So they've already been dealing with this and navigating this normal. Ask an agent up there what it was like, how they handled it, what changes they noticed, if any. Spoiler alert, 99% of listings up there still offer compensation to a buyer's agent. Do not post about how this screws buyers. I want to talk about affordability. Trust me. I've been looking all week for somebody to talk about this and how it will impact affordability, because what we all really care about is the consumer, right? Do not post about how this screws them for the simple reason of, what purpose does that serve? We're here to provide clarity. We want to encourage them. We believe in real estate. In good times, in bad times, real estate is always good. That's what we believe. That's why we do what we do. So we're not here to rile them up. People are riled up enough. They're generally discouraged about real estate and affording to buy their first home already. Let's not make it worse. Do you guys remember Dodd-Frank? I'm going to take a little bit of tangent here. The huge lending reform that followed the 2008 housing crash was Dodd-Frank. It did nothing to protect the consumer from predatory lending. Zip. You really think a closing disclosure instead of a truth in lending statement was the change America needed at that point? You know who benefited? The only people who benefited? Lobbyists. The lawyers who had to be hired by banks to decipher this new, wild, long, complicated code so that banks could cover their asses, not do better by the consumer. The consumer still had to find a lender they trust to handle their mortgage. Bottom line. I'm so sick of hearing dinosaur agents and loan officers say, I just always do what's right for the client. If you don't keep yourself up to date on what's happening, if you aren't constantly reinventing yourself, If you aren't evolving with the times, you're not doing what's right for the client. You are a disservice to the client because you stay in an industry and you keep guiding people as a real estate expert when you aren't investing the time and energy into making sure that you are still an expert, that you're up to date on the most recent changes, and you are ahead of whatever market cycle is coming next. Okay, back on track. Do consider your own value because you do all of those things. That's why you watch this video every week. And a buyer's agent does a ton of work. You coordinate access to properties, you negotiate, you arrange for inspections, you meet with the appraiser every single time, right? You provide education and guidance. You're the orchestrator of the whole transaction. What do you believe is a fair compensation amount for that? Be honest with yourself. I always tell all of my coaching clients, you cannot tell someone why they should work with you if you don't first know why they should work with you. On $1 million home, is the work you did worth $30,000? Be ready to articulate that because you may soon have to in writing on the offers that you submit. Listing agents, you guys are not off the hook here. In fact, I feel the burden of all these changes would fall mainly on you. A lot of people have been calling down from their pedestal that this is why they built a business around listings. I don't think it's so safe up there, Joe Schmo. Listing agents will bear the burden of explaining, hopefully properly, to their clients what the appropriate commission would be to offer a buyer's agent in order to move this property within the timeline they need for the most amount of money. Who else is going to be explaining that to the seller? It's on the listing agent. Since the news about realtor commissions first became mainstream last November, I've had lots of conversations with realtor friends who say that clients are already asking them. Sellers are already pushing them on commissions and trying to negotiate down. So this has already been on the consumer's radar for a few months. Now it's even more so because of the big headline and then all of the realtors' reactions to it. So listing agents, you got to be just as clear about your value proposition, but also you'll have to work on your people skills to make sure that you have positioned yourself in a place and a position to earn your client's trust. Because honestly, the entire industry is going to be relying on the listing agent having their clients' trust and being able to properly guide them and advise them on how they should market that listing. Let's talk about the attorneys though. Let's go back to what I was saying before on my tangent. Can we just come back to how they stand to be the only ones who benefit right now? They're coming after you guys on your 3 to 6% commission, whatever it is, while they're making what, 30% of the commission on this settlement? That's fucking wild. Who are they to talk? Acting like they care about people's best interests and antitrust laws, this and that. You guys are going to make 30% of what sum? It is everywhere though. People negotiating, people paying attention to the fees they're paying advisors, people looking at these percentages. Financial advisors are under a ton of scrutiny ever since all the financial influencers decided to take aim at them and raise awareness about how much 1% in management fees really adds up to over the journey to retirement. Loan officers. We've been commoditized so brutally and harshly that honestly, when I walk into a car dealership, I offer to pay the guy extra. Because I cannot imagine making someone feel the way I feel, who's just trying to do their job, by the way. I would never want to make someone feel the way rate shoppers make me feel. So while this all may be a bit too soon for me to point out some of these things, I do think a little introspection is appropriate. If you ever posted or chimed in on a post about how interest rates are totally negotiable, would you still do that now? Honestly, I'm wondering. Over the last few days, I saw a lot of posts about how if realtors were paid hourly, you'd actually make way more than what your commission pays you. The hours spent bending over backwards to guide a client through a very stressful time, that takes an emotional toll on you. I know. The missed dinners, the glares from your spouse on the weekend when you have to take out your computer, answer that phone call. But didn't that always happen to the loan officer too? I can relate to all of that. I wonder if that was considered, though, by the agent who told their client to shop around after they used my personalized offer acceptance package, my pre-approval, my reputation to go into escrow. And then when their offer is accepted, the agent says, well, I did tell them to shop around on interest rate because I got to do what's right for my client. Will it be the same now if the roles are reversed? Or when you were told to refer out 3 lenders? I believe some of you have told me that this was taught in real estate school in order to avoid liability. So I'm imagining now in loan officer school, they'll tell us that we have to cover our ass by telling anyone who applies for a mortgage, by the way, as we're going over this closing statement, you'll see the largest item is the commission paid to your buyer's agent. You really should shop around. Doesn't that feel weird? Like, isn't that, it feels cringy to me as I'm saying it. Now, before you get salty with me, because I know you're feeling salty inside. And like I said, none of what I'm saying are fighting words, guys. My point is not to poke at you here. My point is to allow for some introspection, allow for some healthy debate and conversation about business practices and which ones will need to be adapted for our new normal. The truth is, it's still highly likely that nothing changes as a result of this. Just look at Seattle. FSBOs. They've been around a long time. The majority of sellers still hire a realtor. Discount brokerages. They continue to fail at gaining market share. The reason you and your role is such a huge part of the housing industry is because so many of you are so good at what you do that you deserve every dollar of that commission. I suggest that we use this as an opportunity to grow as an industry, to learn how to work together better, to have more professional relationships and partnerships, and to improve for the benefit of the consumer.